Ever feel like, you're kind of stuck? Spiritually parched, like you're in a desert, just longing for some peace, some refreshment. The deep down assurance that God will provide. Especially when life just feels anything but abundant.
Yeah. I think we've all been there at some point, haven't we? That yearning for like a real tangible sense of God's presence, Especially when we feel most alone. Like we're just wandering in this barren wilderness.
It's true. And that's actually what we're diving into today. You sent in this question and it just resonated. And we thought Bishop Loretta Sanders' message about finding this pools in the wilderness was the perfect place to jump in.
Pools in the wilderness.
I know.
That's an image.
What a powerful image, right?
It really is. It makes you think, doesn't it? It's about recognizing those moments, Those moments of God's provision, those little unexpected oases of peace and rest that he just provides for us, even when it feels like we're in a spiritual drought.
It's so easy to get caught up in all the dryness, isn't it? All the stress, the uncertainty. It's easy to feel like we're in it alone.
Mm-hmm.
Bishop Sanders, she actually uses the COVID-19 pandemic as an example. Can you imagine talking about a collective wilderness experience? Right. But she points out that even in those really dark times, amidst all the fear and the loss, people still found those pools,
right?
Those unexpected, kind of surprising sources of God's provision.
Yeah.
Maybe it was that their health was good, or a new job came up when they needed it most, or just a deep sense of peace that just defied all the craziness around them. Have you ever experienced something like that?
It's like, how they say you can't always see the stars.
Yeah.
But they're always there.
It's true.
It's like that. God, he's a constant presence even when we don't feel it, even when it seems like everything around us is telling us the opposite. It's about trust, Trusting that he's still working even when we can't see the results.
And that reminds me of that analogy, the one Bishop Sanders uses about elephants in Africa. You heard about this?
I don't think so, no.
Oh, it's incredible. So elephants, they can sense when rain is coming. Yeah, even if it's miles away. They pick up on these subtle changes in the environment and get this, they start moving.
Wow.
Like instinctively. They just start heading towards those future water sources. Those hidden oases in the distance.
That's incredible. I never knew that about elephants.
Isn't it amazing?
Yeah.
And it's like a picture of faith in action, isn't it? They're trusting their instincts, their inner knowing that refreshment, it's coming, even when the land around them is, well, it seems bone dry.
That's so powerful.
It really is. And notice they don't just sit around, passively waiting for this rain to magically come to them. They're actually setting out in faith, trusting they'll be led to that source of life.
So it's about adopting that elephant mindset then.
Yeah, exactly.
Like we might be surrounded by dryness, by those struggles right now.
Yeah.
But if we can just shift our focus, like if we can tune in to that inner compass, that faith compass, we can start moving towards those pools that God has already prepared.
He's already prepared them for it.
We might not see them yet, but they're out there.
They're out there.
Yeah.
And here's the amazing thing. God, well, he isn't just waiting around for us to stumble across these pools.
Right.
He's creating them. Even as we stake, he's in the business of making things new. He's bringing life to those dead places.
Wow, I love that.
That's true. Remember the story of Elijah being fed by ravens in the wilderness?
Oh, yeah, the ravens?
Talk about unnatural provision, right? I mean, ravens.
Check.
Delivering your food. That's not exactly your typical takeout.
No kidding. That's defying the natural order. Talk about thinking outside the box.
But that's our God, isn't it?
It is.
He loves to work outside the box. He's showing us he's not bound by our limitations, our expectations. He's not bound by anything.
No, he's not. He's definitely still in the miracle business, that's for sure.
He is. He's still in the miracle working business.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, Elijah. He had to trust. He had to have faith, even when it didn't make any sense. He had to believe that God would provide. He had to look at those ravens and not see, scary birds, but see messengers of God's grace.
That's incredible. It's true.
So how do we do that? How do we cultivate that kind of radical trust?
It's about being honest, isn't it? It starts with honesty. We have to acknowledge our own wilderness experiences.
It's hard to admit sometimes, right?
It is, but we try to put on a brave face, right?
Yeah.
Pretend that everything's fine.
Yeah.
But deep down, we're thirsty, we're desperate, just longing for for God to show
We
up.
want to see him, to feel him.
We need a touch from him.
We do. It's like Bishop Sanders says, we have to be willing to name those deserts in our lives,
It's true.
those specific areas where we're feeling that dryness, that deep longing for God to show up, to be real, to be tangible. We'll be right back after a quick break.
Hi, Pastor Loretta here, and I would like to invite you to join us each morning at 5 a.m. UAE time and 9 p.m. East Coast time for our Streams in the Desert prayer. What we do is we talk about how powerful and how mighty our God is, even in those situations where it seems like we can't see him, we can't touch him, but we have to know that he is yet still here. So join us for Streams in the Desert.
It takes courage, though, doesn't it? To really be honest with ourselves and with God about those places, those places where we're empty, where we need him. We need him to show up. We need that provision. It does. It takes courage. But here's the thing. It's in those moments of vulnerability, when we just come to him and say, I need you. That's when we open ourselves up, That's when we can really receive his grace.
Wow, yeah.
It's like that old hymn, how does it go? I must be emptied of myself before I can be filled with his love. Something like that.
It's so true. It's so easy to get caught up in our own stuff, Like we have to fix it. We have to be strong. And we forget to just come to him, just with open hands, saying, I need you.
It's about surrendering, isn't it? It's about shifting that focus from what we lack to the one who can fill every single need.
Yes. From the dryness to the source to the living water.
Yes, exactly.
And that makes me think about another really important point that Bishop Sanders makes about trusting God's timing.
Oh, yeah.
Even when we don't see it, when there's no evidence, but having that faith that the storm cloud, it's coming. That storm cloud of his provision, it's on its way, even if we can't see it yet.
That's right. We have to remind ourselves that God, he doesn't work on our timetable.
That's for sure.
His ways, his thoughts, they're so much bigger than ours. What we might see as a delay, it's him working behind the scenes. He's orchestrating, he's preparing our hearts and creating those pools.
Those pools in the wilderness.
Exactly, just when we need them the most.
That image of the storm cloud, I love that. Because it's so easy to get stuck, to be looking at our situation, at the dry ground, at the desert floor, and be discouraged. We don't see that immediate change, but what if? What if we were more like those elephants? What if we could sense it? The changes, those signs that rain is coming.
It's a whole different way of seeing, isn't it? We need that vision of faith that sees beyond what's right in front of us.
Beyond the circumstance.
Beyond our own understanding. And it sees God. It sees his faithfulness. He's not bound by time. He's not limited by, by what we think is possible.
That's why, I think those stories in the Bible, those miracles, the unnatural provision, those are so important. They remind us, God, he's still in the miracle business.
Yeah.
He's not afraid to defy the odds, even to break his own laws, if that's what it takes.
Exactly. Think about the Red Sea or Jesus feeding all those people with just a little bit of food. Those stories, they're not just nice stories. They're meant to build us up, to build up our faith, to remind us that with God, anything is possible.
Even the impossible. Sometimes, though, those impossible things, it means we need to go through a season of separation. Being set apart.
Oh, yeah.
Bishop Sanders talks about this, that sometimes it's like God saying, I need you. I need to get you alone. I want to speak to you, to refresh you, to prepare you.
That's hard, though.
It is hard.
Especially these days, when everyone's connected all the time, no one wants to be alone. Being part of the group, that's what's celebrated, right? But when we're willing to embrace those seasons, those times alone, when we're set apart, that's when we find a different kind of provision.
It's like he's pulling us away from the noise, all the distractions, and he's whispering.
Wow.
Whispering to our hearts, showing us things that we would never see if we were still stuck in all that hustle and bustle.
Just like Moses on the Mount, right? Or Jesus going to the wilderness to pray. Those times alone, those times set apart, that's when they got the clarity, the direction, the strength, everything they needed. But it wasn't always easy, those times set apart. Sometimes it means facing opposition, feeling misunderstood, like you're on the wrong path.
It's true. It's not always easy. But don't you think, though, that those times, those lonely times, those set-apart times, those are the times we really encounter God?
I think so, because that's when our faith, it gets real, Our character, it has a chance to grow stronger, and we start to see how much we really, really need him.
We realize we can't do it on our own. Makes me think about All those times in my own life where I felt so alone, so misunderstood. And looking back now, it's like God was using those times. He was pruning things in my heart. He was getting me ready.
Wow. Yeah.
And he wasn't punishing me. It wasn't like that. He was protecting me.
He was refining you.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Refining me, bringing me closer.
Closer to him.
So he was saying, just trust me. I know what I'm doing here. I'm taking you to a different pool.
A different kind of pool.
Yeah. One that will really, really satisfy.
That's a good way to put it because, it's different for everyone, isn't it? God's provision, it's not one size fits all. He knows us.
He knows us better than we know ourselves, right?
Exactly. He knows what we're hoping for, what we're afraid of, what we're good at, and he provides what we need.
It's tailor-made, that provision. And sometimes it might look like a promotion or a financial breakthrough. Or, maybe it's the strength to just get through a hard time.
Yeah.
To endure.
It could be the wisdom to make a tough decision or even, just peace when everything around us is chaotic.
That's a provision right there, isn't it?
It is.
And sometimes it might even look like a desert.
A desert.
Yeah, like a season of waiting, a time of testing.
Being stripped bare.
Yes, that's it. Stripped bare.
Mm-hmm.
When we have to let go of everything we thought we needed. And that's when we discover what truly satisfies.
It's like in the desert, that's when we learn to drink deeply from the well.
From the source.
His presence.
When we finally realize he is all we need.
He is.
It's funny because it's so easy to get caught up in, asking God for things. We want provision, we want guidance, we want a way out. And we forget the most important thing.
What's that?
Just being with him.
It's like that hymn, turn your eyes upon Jesus, look full in his wonderful face, and the things of earth will grow strangely dim in the light of his glory and grace.
It's true. It's so true.
Mm-hmm.
Well, as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with this thought. Where do you need to shift your focus? From the dryness around you to that storm cloud.
To his provision.
Yes, that's good. Are you willing to trust him? Even when it leads you to an unexpected place, maybe it's that oasis, that season of solitude, being set apart, wrestling with him.
Because he knows.
He knows. Now remember, this is the God who can make rivers in the desert.
Yeah.
He is the God of the unexpected. He is abundant grace.
Tailor-made blessings. Just for you.
Keep your eyes on him. Trust his heart.
Be open.
Be open to the incredible ways he's working, even when you can't see it.
He's working.
This has been amazing. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for diving deep with us.